on. Bluetooth mode.
Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Nama Pranavathaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yadidam kincha jagat sarvam
Yadidam kinchas jagat sarvam
prane ejati nisrutam
prana ejati nisratam
mahadbayam vajramudyatam
mahadbayam vajramudyatam
ya etad viduramritaste bhavanti
ya etad
Etad
viduramridaste
bhavanti.
Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. We hear it so often. Whatever is there is nothing but that one Brahman. Karya being non-separate from the Karanam. And for that, we saw an example, a drishtanta in the first mantra, very elaborate description of samsara in the form of a vriksha, where every component, every part of the samsara vriksha more or less was taken up and saying what is the equivalent in the samsara. The trunk, the bark, the branches, the leaves, the flowers, and the entire ecosystem present there, what they do, how they keep arguing, how they keep making a lot of noises. All of that was described in great detail. That samsara is a creation. In fact, come to think of it, even the drishtanta is a creation of a human mind. It's a creation. It is put together with a purpose to exemplify an idea, a concept. Normally, what do? We take an example of a ghata because it is easy to understand with one material and the necessary intelligence and skill. This is how we see everything. Every creation has both of these components, a nimitta karanam and an upadhana karanam, a material from which to create and a knowledge base which can create this, because the purpose is known. These examples, including the Vatavriksha, take examples from within one order, within the Vyavaharika order, and show how you can look at a karya karana prakriya. Then there is the other example that Shruti uses of swapna. In the swapna, what is the upadhana karanam? There is no upadhana karanam. There is only a nimitta karanam. When you look at Brahman, Sarvam Kalbitam Brahma, the Brahman is defined as Sat Chit Ananda or Ananta. For purposes of understanding, we say Sat is easiness, existence. Chit is the intelligent component, which means a sentient component, and Ananda or Ananta. And we say that this Sat Chit Ananda Brahman is the Karanam from which the entire Jagat has sprung, entire Jagat is sustained, and into which the entire Jagat resolves back. The confusion caused by the words, because we look at the word meaning and what we use the word for generally in the samsara, and look at it and say, this is Satyam, this is Chaitanyam, sentiency, consciousness, and this is Anandam. But when we look at it a little closely, we say that these are not the meanings that we can apply for Brahman. And that Brahman, which we say is the Karanam for the entire Jagat, in the example as a Ghata, or the Karanam for using multiple material and multiple knowledge and skill sets, like in the building of a house, a palace. And then we give these examples to say that this Brahman, which is Ekameva Advitiyam, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, is a Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam. All these drishtanta are very good. But these drishtanta, if you take only from the same order of reality, it behaves differently. So we have an example of Swapna, which is another order of reality, man created, where there is no upadhana karanam. So we don't have to worry about whether it is a upadhana karanam where the material undergoes change, called parinami upadhana karanam, or does not undergo change, called vivarta upadhana karanam. How do you compare this with Shrishti of the Jagat? It is also two different orders of reality, which is why the confusion between what we see as Satyam when seen from the Vyavaharika perspective and Satyam as seen from the perspective of Brahman, of Atma. Of all the three words, where these three words have three distinct meanings in the Vyavaharika Jagat, all three are only pointers to that one Ekameva Advitiya Brahman, and it is only a pointer, it is not a word meaning as we understand in the Vyavaharika world. If we can clearly understand this, the meaning of these three words, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, or even Anandam, then inevitably one can almost get the hang of the aparoksha jnanam that has to be I. Very beautiful methodology. So we have a situation where there is only, like in a dream jagat, in this jagat also, there really need not be any material cause. Think about it. There is no material cause. Everything seems to be there in this jagat, all arising out of the nyapti, nyadhaturtha. It is the same thing as satyam, it is the same thing as anantam. We human beings have also got other ways of looking at this. Dream is a wonderful example for us. But today, the world has created another order of reality called virtual reality. Many of you are already aware of this. It is called virtual, it's not real. This whole jagat is only virtual reality. There's really no reality about it. You know how they've stimulated this, no? You wear a headset with this thing, you create a completely new jagat. And you can do whatever you want with the jagat. This whole jagat is like that. It's virtual reality. Even within this jagat, I can think of examples where you have a creation. There's a samhita, an assemblage, without material. What about all the apps you write, all the software you write? It is creating something with a purpose. It is therefore a creation. The only difference is an app or a software requires another physical entity to realize the objective. Because the app has been written for a specific thing. In fact, so much so that if you write an app for iPhone, you can't use it in Android. It's written for a specific thing. But it is a creation. When you understand all this, then there is this whole jagat which looks solid. Big mountains, big rivers, intelligent human beings, physical, sentient animals and trees, is nothing but Chaitanyam. What is Brahma Swarupa, Chaitanya Swarupa? Chinmayameva. What is my Swarupa? I is also same, Chinmayameva. Everything else is anatma, apparent, virtual. There's no reality. I saw this application of reality, VR, virtual reality. They also have VR, AR, NR, and all sort of R. And it's going on improving. When you could actually take a person through a building, for example, you go room by room and see the room as you would see if you're walking through the room. Amazing it is actually. Like that, this whole world is like that. And of course, from what their understanding of all this, people have created another creation, a movie, Matrix, another movie called Avatar. From what they understood of this Jagat being mithya, more examples have been created. Then what happens in this virtual world, even the VR headset and everything, you stop watching. You're actually there. As long as you're there, you don't really realize that it is virtual. If you ever tried that virtual headset, you will know. As long as you are in this Jagat, if you see the parallel, this is a virtual reality. As long as we are in the virtual reality, the reality is real. Where did it come from? There is only nimitta karanam. All that example in the previous mantra, elaborate example of the physical world with all the things that is happening in that physical world, may be looked at as an example of the upadhana karanam. We have a root with the same order of reality, not visible. It's an intelligent root. It seeks nourishment required for different parts of the tree. For the trunk, for the leaves, for the flowers to bloom, the water required for chlorophyll. And it provides all that, sustains the tree. But when you look at it from the perspective of the dream, or in the case of the virtual reality, which is more easy to understand in today's world, we see that there is only nimitta karanam. Therefore, when somebody asks this question, saying, you say it is abhinna nimitta upadhana karanam, what do you mean? Abhinna, non-differentiated nimitta upadhana karanam. But my argument, Purvapakshi, saying the whole world is virtual, therefore non-existent, and therefore the karanam is also non-existent. So this next mantra, for which Bhashyakara has given a very nice connection, Yad Vijnanat Amrita Bhavanti Ityuchyate, that which, knowing which, the karanam knowing which, you get amritatvam. Jagataha moolam, that is what you said, it is the adhisthana for the jagat, is non-existent. Nasti Brahma. It is a shunyam. Therefore, asad evam nisritam iti. And we can quote, this is how out of context quotes come. Taittiriya Upanishad says, asanneva bhavati. But if we understand what it says, you take that out of context and say asanneva bhavati. There's only asat. In fact, the first reading, one can get confused. But what it really is saying is, if somebody says asatyeva bhavati, that person is wrong, is asat. But they will quote it out of context. That's how people misinterpret these things. So this Purvapakshi also saying that it is asat. There is nothing called Brahman. And the entire universe, being asat itself, being virtual itself, has come from only asat. To which two sets of argument we looked at. One saying that seen from within the Jagat, It is an intelligently put together creation. That means there must be an intelligence behind it. It is not a random operation, random result. I like the software example here. There's a purpose. You want to achieve something. Somebody has to think about the system, think about how to write the step-by-step process. It's true for everything. There has to be intelligence behind it. It is the argument. That is why that Kathopanishad says, no. He who thinks the Brahman is Asat is himself Asat. Because here, Yadidam Kincha Jagat Sarvam, all of everything in the Jagat. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma is nothing but Brahma. Prane Ejati Nisrutam was actually everything here emerged from that one Brahman, from the Prana. We will see why Prana, why Brahman is called Prana. And it continues to operate, move, chalanam, ejati. And then there's a second line which also we need to look at, understand clearly. Mahadbhayam vajra mudyatam ya etad viduhu amritaste bhavanti. He who knows, who understands this, gains amritatvam, meaning understands the anantam of the self. We will look at what Bhashyakara says and then look at each of these elements carefully. Bhashyakara clearly establishes the nimitta karana. Yadidam kincha,
Yadidam
Yadidam
kincha,
kincha,
yat kincha idam jagat sarvam,
yat kincha idam
Yatkincha
jagat
idam
sarvam,
jagat
Jagat
sarvam,
Sarvam
prane parasmin brahmani sati,
prane
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 parasmin brahmani
parasmin
sati,
Brahmani
brahmani
Sati
sati,
ejati kampate.
ejati
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 kampate.
Kampate
kampate,
How do you establish nimitta karanam?
Tatteva
Yadidam
Nisritam
kincha. Everything that is here, everything small, big, near, far, everything, it says, Yatkincha idam, all things. This sarvam itself is something we have to understand very clearly. Includes everything. That includes also my body, mind, sense complex. My body, my individual parts of the body, all of them put together intelligently. That intelligence is pointing out how the body has been put together. The feet are made to walk in a certain direction. If you try walking backwards, how awkward it is, you know that. And the eyes are in the same direction. Suppose the creation had been such that eyes were behind and the feet were walking in front. How awkward the whole thing will be. You can't see where you're going, or you walk backward, which is equally awkward. Intelligently put together. Every single component, which itself is an assemblage. Eye is an assemblage. Look at the assembly of the eye. Every single eye of different types. Eye of a fly is different to eye of a human being. And yet, they all have same kind of components and the purpose is the same. Which is why we are able to talk of a presiding deity, a devata. Idam sarvam maya tatam. I am everything. Then nothing separate from that one Ekameva Aditya Brahman. For easy understanding, for us, we say Ishvara. Jagat Sarvam. Prane Parasmin Brahmani Sati Ejati. Why Prane? You can look at it two ways. We said this is an intelligently put together. Look at prana implies every living being. There is no living being which does not have prana. And every living being has been put together with such amazing precision. I mean, we look at a human being and say, my God, this is a miracle. We look at every other animal, fish, or any other living creature, including trees and plants. How intelligently it's been put together. The purpose is there. All have been put together. They assemble, therefore, Samhita. And there is a definite intelligence behind it. Prana indicates intelligence. The intelligent cause which causes all of these to be the way they are. The fish also has prana, but it does it underwater. And there are amphibian creatures which can do both. You look at every creature, how they've been designed. And you can't but be amazed at the beauty and the intelligence behind it. That prana represents Parabrahma. Who's put it together? There are laws, everything follows. Eyes follow a certain law. Every part of the Sharira follows laws. And the so-called rationalists will say, these laws are very clear. That's why you have books on ophthalmology. Right? I agree. There are laws. My question is, who wrote those laws? You discovered them. Every law on this earth you discovered. There are probably many, many more you have not yet discovered. If there is such a law where everything follows the same law, who wrote that law? There has to be an intelligence behind it. Therefore, Parasmin Brahmani, that prana, in the prana, Saptami, the Sati Saptami, Prane, Parasmin Brahmani Sati, being Parasmin Brahma, being Parabrahma, everything comes from there. Everything is intelligently created from there. Jagat Karane Sati. Everything is there. Another way of looking at this prana is also pranava, the very origin of everything. Here, I think prana as the life form makes more sense because we are looking at what is the intelligence behind all this creation. What is the nimitta karanam that has created this entire jagat? And this nimitta karanam, which created this entire thing, because of it, sarvam idam ejati. Kampate, Bhashyakara says. Chalanam asti. Everything is movement. They continue to move, grow, go through all the 6 stages of vikara, all because of the presence of prana. Parabrahma. So the first sentence itself makes it very clear that the nimitta karanam is established. Yadidam kincha, meaning yat kincha idam jagat sarvam prane parasmin brahmani sati ejati kampate. Only because of caused by Parabrahman. What happens if there is no Parabrahman? Hey, it's not even a possible understanding. The whole Vedanta says there is only Ekameva Advitya Brahman. So I don't even go into that discussion. Because of which we have this virtual reality called Jagat. Look at the next sentence. Tata eva
तत एव
nismritam
निःसृतं
nirgatam sat prachalati
निर्गतं
Nirgatam
सत्प्रचलति
Satprachalati
niyamena cheshtate.
नियमेन
Niyamena
चेष्टते
Cheshtate
Yat evam, no, tata eva, because of that only, nisrutaha, it's been established. Everything has been established. Bhashikara explains, nirgatam sat prachalati. There is all this creation, all the chalanam it is there in the creation, all of that, because of that. Then he adds one very nice cheshtate. Cheshtate is that all the activities take place. That's the word niyamena. Niyamena is what? By following certain rules and laws. Everything follows rules and laws. Every part of the Sharira follows certain rules and laws. These include, like we said, the Shadvikara. Every Sharira has to go through all the six. There is no choice. And in their own functioning, in their own chalanam, they follow certain laws. They follow certain clear, for a better word, guidelines. Everything is like, occasionally you find a blip that is also part of the order. This law is the order. This order is Ishvara. Where did the laws come from? Scientists may have uncovered the law, but somebody must have created the law. That should be a Niyanta, one who creates the law, one who ensures that these laws are followed. Therefore, he says, Niyamena cheshtate, following a certain order which has already been laid down. The nose behaves in a certain fashion, the eyes behave in a certain fashion, every part of the body behaves and all of them behave in the same fashion. Therefore, there's a common law. There's a niyama. And therefore, there must be one who created the niyama, who ensures the niyamas are followed. Yadevam
यदेवं
jagat utpatyadi karanam
Jagat
जगत्पत्यादिकारणं
karanam brahma, jagat utpatyadi karanam brahma
Jagat
जगत्पत्यादिकारणं
Karanam
ब्रह्म
Brahma
tat mahad bhayam
Tad
तन्महत्
Mahad Bhayam
mahaccha tad bhayancha
महच्च
Mahaccha Tad
तद्भयं
Bhayancha
vivetyasmaditi mahad bhayam
बिभेत्यस्मादिति महद्भयम्.
When I first studied this, I was quite confused. Why does Shastra use the word bhayam? You know, I have seen in many churches, they write some saying, probably a quote from one of the scriptures. Many of them are meant to invoke fear. If you ever pass by a church, you see this, many times you'll find it is meant to invoke fear. That is not the way Vedanta looks at it. So why does it use the word bhayam? Both here and in Taittiriya Upanishad, Vishatma vata pavate, Vishodeti suryah, Vishasmat agnischet indrascha, Mrityur dhavati panchama iti. Bhisha, bhayam. Till the whole thing is explained. Shastra uses the example of a king or anybody in authority. A person in authority whose presence makes every other person do his or her job and not slack. Why does that happen? One is bhayam, of punishment of some form. Other is a sense of duty. This is my job to do, and I have to do it as best as I can. That doesn't happen very often. In most cases, we follow a certain law because of fear. And if the fear is removed, we don't follow the law. Look at the road, you know that. Why go very far? When we follow the rules of the road, 90% of the time it is because of fear. If I crash a red light, I will be challaned. But if one can do it because I have a sense of civic sense, it is very different from this. Then you are a yogi. Many years ago, in my Purvashrama days, we did some work for GE in Delhi, actually in Faridabad. When they started a new factory, and they called us in as consultants and said, we want to make the best new project. So we discussed with them and we said, since you're recruiting new people, all the workmen on the floor and other people, we work with them to say that we will run every new recruit through 3 weeks, in fact, 21 days, including Saturdays, Sundays, everything, of intensive training. One part of the training is the technical training. Whatever job they're supposed to do, they were making motors, fractional horsepower motors. I said, you take care of that. Our job is to change the way they look at their job. They are new, so it can be done. People have been working for 20 years, very difficult to change. And we instilled in each one of them the sense of duty, the sense of pride in their job. To the extent that in the structure of the company, we removed the supervisor level completely, no supervisors, except for quality supervisors who do their process quality check and so on. And the very first year of operation, that factory was declared the best new project initiative in the world within GE. attitude. All we have to do is not work out of fear, but out of fear, out of pride in what you do. It is the best I can do because it is Ishvara Arpanam Karma. But, sorry, the general thing is what? Fear. Can you imagine in any company, any office, any factory, the news spreads in the grapevine. Today the boss is very angry. I don't know what happened. Maybe he had a fight at home, but he's very angry. Suddenly, there are no gossips in the factory or in the office. Everybody's stuck to his or her operational seat and working very diligently. I'm sure all of you have seen this. Bhayam. That is not the. It is a fact of life that in general, most people work out of fear. Not because they are a karma yoga. This is the difference between karma yoga and non-karma yoga. One of the differences. Work out of fear. So this example is used. If there is a person in authority who is carrying his or her symbol of authority, can be anything. Can be a whip, can be simply the attitude, need not be physical. But that is the example that is used. That in the presence of the person in authority, all people do their work diligently, don't slack, don't spend time in the coffee machine gossiping. Therefore, this whole, I'm not sure in the days when these were written, the Upanishad was written, they may not have been factored. But the concept that a human being is one where most people work out of fear. Therefore, bhaya. But how should we read this? Bhaya comes from the fact that there is a certain rule that you're supposed to do. That you're supposed to work 4 hours, take a half an hour break and work another 4 hours, for example. You don't slack. That's a rule. You follow the rule. And to ensure that rule is followed, there is a niyanta. There is one who exercises authority to ensure that the rule is followed. That example is taken, and therefore we read this bhaya, literally it is fear. But in the context we're talking about, one should read it as a niyama. Not even a mandate. It is the rule and you are expected to follow the rule. And who laid down the rule? Ishvara. So in the next line he says, Yad evam, Yad means who? Brahman. Jagat utpatyadi karanam, he is the Jagat utpatyadi karanam. Brahma tat mahad bhayam. Mahatcha bhayancha. Mahat is infinite, anantam. And he is the one who creates the rules. Represented here as bhayam. Mahatcha bhayamcha. Therefore it says, Bhibeti asmat iti mahad bhayam. From which you are, certain fear is there. Mahad bhayam. Mahatcha bhayancha bhibeti asmat iti mahad bhayam. And very nicely Bhashyakara goes back to the example that the one in authority exhibits his authority using a symbol of their authority. And what is the symbol in this case? He says, like, Vajramudyatam,
Vajramudyam,
Mudyatam.
Udyatam iva Vrajram,
Udyatam iva vajram,
Yata Vajrodyatakaram,
yatha
Yatha
vajrodyatakaram,
Vajrodyatakaram,
Swaminam Abhimukhi Bhutam,
Swaminam
Swaminam
Abhimukhi
abhimukhi
Bhutam,
bhutam,
Abhimukhi Bhutam Drishtva,
Abhimukhi
abhimukhi
Bhutam
bhutam
Abhimukhi
Drishtva,
drishtva,
Vritya Niyamena Tat Shasane Vartante.
bhritya
Vritya
niyamena
Niyamena
tacha
tachasane
shane
vartante.
vartante.
Tat Shasane Vartante. They act in that niyama. Shasanakarta is there. The Shasanakarta, the man in authority, exhibits its authority, because of which niyamena tat shasane vartante. Who vartante? Who does this work? He says, Britya. Britya is all the employees. It literally means servants. No, he's a government servant, no? So far in India, we did not have any fear in the government service. Because once you get into the government, you can't be thrown out. Promotions become automatic based on time. Increments become automatic based on time. Where is the bhayam? That has begun to change now. The so-called government servants are all evaluated every year, all the way up to the level of secretary, the highest in each department. Britya, by the employees. By the employees, shasane niyamena vartante. In that shasanam, in that administration, niyamena vartante, they follow the rules. Okay. Why do they follow the rules? Swaminam abhimukhi bhutam drishtva. Seeing the Swaminam, here is man in authority. Swaminam abhimukhi bhutam drishtva. Coming, walking in that. Seeing that Swami. Reminds me of a very interesting case. Again, Purvashrama, one of my clients, big law firm. And the founder of the law firm, to ensure that people follow the rule of coming in to work at 9, although they had an attendance register and all that, what he would do is, he would come in 5 minutes earlier and not say anything to anybody, go and sit in the reception area and read the newspaper. That is all he would do. Presence of that person in authority at the reception area when people walk in the morning. That is all that was required. What a wonderful way to handle this. Didn't say anything to anybody. If he came late also, he didn't say anything. But the very fact that the founder chairman, founder managing director is sitting, the founder partner is sitting there, what happened? Britya niyamena vartante. They all followed the rule. What kind of, because we talk about fear, he extends the example by saying here there is no fear, here also there is fear, but the fear arising out of a possible punishment because the founder managing director has been observing them. So he knows who comes habitually late, who comes on time, who comes early, all that he knows. He doesn't have to look at the register. But in the general way, he says, Vajram udyatam iva vajram. He uses the word iva. Vajram is the weapon of Indra, Lord Indra. You know the story of how that happened, no? There was this Asura, usual there, all the stories come on the basis of Asura and Deva fights. No? One Asura was creating havoc. And he had a boon. No weapon made of any metal or anything else could kill him. He could not be killed in the day or in the night. So everybody went to Lord Vishnu. How do you manage this? This guy is creating chaos, absolutely. So Lord Indra was sent to one great Muni, sage, called Dadichi. And he had to have the bone of that person who is a great tapasvi and make a yantra of that. Vajram indicates a weapon, a sword. So, Vajram udyatam iva, as if with a raised weapon in his hand. But iva, please note, as if with a raised weapon in his hand, he walks in. It need not be a weapon. Like I said, the example of this law firm, there was no weapon. It's just presence. That's it. And he's the Shasana Karta and the Shasana takes place. Everybody works Nemena. Vajram udyatam iva vajram. Weapon as though raised in his hand. Yatha vajra udayatakaram swaminam. Who does he see? Abhimukhi bhutam drishtva. Seeing in front of him that man in authority with the raised, as though raised vajram weapon in his hand. Yatha vajra udyata karam. With the weapon raised in his hand, as though raised, iva. What do we understand from this? That this Shasanakarta, who is the creator of everything, who is the prana, Parabrahma, his laws are followed. And they are followed, and gives an example saying, as would be followed in any organization where the person in authority stands visibly to all the employees, all the vritta, the people doing their functions as they should do. Later he will talk about the entire cosmos, but here he is talking about all the beings. Beings behave as they're expected to behave because of the presence of the Shasanakarta. Yatha vajrodyatakaram swaminam abhimukhi bhutam drishtva britya niyamena tat shasane vartante. They follow the rules. So each one does his or her own job. In the modern context, I really like this example of the boss coming in a very angry mood. In the old days, if the king was coming in an angry mood and he finds somebody not following the rules, he could easily say, off with his head. That may not happen in the modern context, but you know that there is consequences. So everybody is diligently at his work desk, and nobody is playing games on his computer. He knows if he's caught playing games, he's going to be in trouble. Everybody is doing what he or she is supposed to be doing. Till the boss walks back into his office and then is called for a meeting with the secretary of the ministry. So he calms himself down and goes away. Things slacken after he goes. Even in the Bhagavad Gita also we have a Navadvare Pure Dehi. There is a Swami in the Sharira, Navadvare Pure, whose presence, like that of a king in his castle, ensures that all the people do what they are supposed to do. Yatha Vajrota Karam Swaminam Abhimukhi Bhutam Drishva Bhritya Niyamena Tat Shasane Vartante. Everybody works because of the very presence of the one who has created the laws, one who ensures that the laws are followed. A very clear example which we can identify with even in today's world. Shasanakarta. This is true of every being. It is also true of every element of the Jagat. Bhashyakara touches upon that and then elaborates in the next mantra. We will look at that in tomorrow's class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.